with CEO Effectiveness. And man, do we have such a treat and a privilege for you all this morning. We are joined by none other than Miss Lisa Shasteen. Miss Shasteen, good morning.
Good morning, Gino.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Super excited about our time today and some of the incredible insight and wisdom that I know that you have that you're willing to impart on our viewers and the rest of the folks here at CEOE. So we humbly thank you.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Absolutely. So, Lisa, folks who are tuning in, they've seen your bio, right? They understand that you're a very successful attorney. You own a business, you have your own law firm, you're very involved in the community. Could you kind of speak about what it is exactly that you do as far as your practice, as well as things that you may be involved in with the community?
Okay, well, in our practice, excuse my poodle, I'm sorry, he's found a friend. Oh, no, of course, it's the worst dog.
I have a chocolate lab who's 105 pounds and thinks he's 5 pounds, and when he barks, it rattles the whole house.
Oh, come on, get down, come on, that's a good boy. There you go. Okay, sorry. Well, in our practice at Shasteen Percy, we are all technology all the time. We are technology lawyers, and so we counsel technology companies a lot, as well as companies that use technology, hey, who doesn't, to facilitate their operations. And we have a great focus on cybersecurity and data privacy. And generally, people fail to listen to us until they have a problem. And then, of course, they're all ears. And we are emergency room doctors, and we love them and care for them and patch them up and get them down the street. So that's kind of where we focus.
Right. What an incredible practice a law to be in, especially in this day and age. I mean, I can't even imagine, especially since COVID-19 has all kicked off, and the amount of privacy issues that have come up because of the increased demand and dependence on technology, right? For folks and businesses to be able to do what they're going to do in order to be able to survive and thrive. So that's an incredible thing. So I know you mentioned also in your bio, so InfraGard. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I failed to mention that. It's a very important part of my life. So InfraGard it's InfraGard. And you can go to the .org site and join for free. It is a national organization. It's the public outreach arm for the FBI. And so we partner with the FBI. I'm president and chairman of the board of the local chapter. And what we do is we sort of try to get the FBI message out to the 16 sectors of critical infrastructure in the United States to try to keep us safe. So that's what we do.
That's a big deal. That's a really, really big deal. So it's amazing, Lisa, with everything that's been going on right now in the country. How are you holding up with COVID-19 and all the civil unrest? How do things look like in your world right now?
Well, things in our world are excellent. They're excellent for us. They're not excellent for everybody. One of the things that's happened is that COVID-19 and the civil unrest have spurred a plethora of phishing messages and schemes to get people to focus on these very timely and important trends. And so basically there are a lot of people getting hacked due to clicking because these seemingly important messages are coming to their inbox seemingly from people they know, and it's a major problem. So coupled with the fact that it is very difficult to maintain cybersecurity, especially for enterprises, when everybody's working at home.
Of course.
I mean, security kind of takes a little bit of a back seat to productivity because, how can you secure the home environment? I mean, look at my dog. He's a terrible assistant. He's disruptive. He can look at my computer and tell me what I'm doing, So that's a challenge.
Absolutely.
And also, I will say this too. The one thing, this is brought a lot of opportunities. First of all, for people to really understand the security space. I think before people didn't really take it very seriously, and now it's being sort of a light is being shined upon it. And also with the civil unrest, we have, one of our main tenets of our firm, my partner is Black. We are very much into diversity and inclusion of all different kinds of people. And so we also have jumped into the social justice message with both feet, in that we wish to be part of the support for a civil conversation. We don't support rioting and things like that. That's horrific. And as a matter of fact, we want to prevent that, but we've just teamed up with the NFL Alumni Association, which is going to be taking a lead. More on that later. It's really exciting what they're doing. It's not our conversation, it's theirs, but we're supportive of it. So, yeah, we have opportunities, and we have opportunities to make our society better, and we want to do it with or without technology.
That's wonderful. Wow, what a great piece of information for people to know, things that you're involved in. And it's very timely, and it's very much needed, very much needed. So that's fantastic. So let's dive into to some of the meat and potatoes of our time today. I know you've got some incredible insights based off of your experience and your knowledge and your wisdom. So, I think across the board, several different industries have been experiencing an unprecedented level of division, kind of talking about what you were just speaking to. In your opinion, what has led to the level of disjuncture we are currently experiencing, and what can the business community do to help encourage cohesion?
Well, I think it all comes down to people again. And I think that technology has enabled people to sit behind a computer screen and not truly confront the person that they are criticizing or vilifying or whatever they're doing. And so technology has enabled a lot of people to be negative and to spew out the frustrations that they have, which can be hurtful. And so I believe that, within a company, it's really important to have a forum where you can talk about the frustrations, and where it's not wrong to be frustrated, to feel a certain way, because feelings are reality for that person. And it's like, well, what do you what would success look like to you? And I think facilitating that conversation, not controlling it, but facilitating that conversation and listening, and then more importantly, implementing some change to be able to, sort of quell some of these frustrations, because we're all people. It's a very difficult time. People are frustrated for so many reasons. A lot of people are, feeling very confined in their homes, or, or frustrated that they can't see one another, they can't get out. So that frustration can kind of feed the other frustrations that they have. And it's really important to listen right now and be that cohesion point, that collaboration point.
That's incredible insight. One of the things that really just stuck out to me is the difference between facilitating a conversation and controlling a conversation. And I think in times of panic and chaos and stress, people are desperately looking for control, right? They want to be able to figure out what's the outcome, how do we do this, as opposed to in something like what we've been dealing with. It's a simple matter of, let's get it all out there. Let's get it all on the table, right? And then collectively, let's try to make sense of everything that's happening and what the most productive and conducive outcome will be. So that is really incredible insight. I think right now, in addition to the very serious matters that we're dealing with, I also think that there's something to be said about a lot of the trivial matters that our culture assigns a lot of meaning and value to. In your life, how do you define what actually matters, and how can organizations identify the same?
Well, again, I go back to people, and I will actually mention a situation that happened to me a while back. It was, a couple of decades ago, but I was having some relationship issues, and I noticed that the constant in all of these situations was me. And I was like, well, maybe I need to talk to somebody about this, and I met a very remarkable counselor who said to me, if you broke my coffee cup here, you would feel bad and you would try to replace it, right? And I said, of course, yeah, I would. She says, well, you can't, because that coffee cup was given to me by my father the day before he died. And I was like, oh my goodness, you know. So she says, but the coffee cup is a thing, and we attribute that meaning to them. She goes, that table doesn't mean anything. The ring on your finger doesn't mean anything. She said, oh, that's harder, isn't it? And I said, yeah, it is. And she says, yes, but the same thing is true of words that people say. So we attribute meaning to other people's words, and we do need to give them the leeway to let them explain to us what it is that those words mean to them. Because even I have been in situations when I was general counsel for an international investment bank where I was speaking to some people in Holland who were fabulous at English. I mean, my Dutch would be ridiculous. So they were speaking English just perfectly. And we had a conversation that resulted in our company not investing in their company because we thought they said they didn't need us. They didn't want us. Whereas what they were saying was they did need us. And it was an odd conversation, but our interpretations were completely different. And they remain my friends today. But we talk about it and we laugh. They've done well. But it's just, it was just kind of eye-opening that we can both even be speaking English and have different meanings.
That's an incredible thing. And I think of how many times this happens on a daily basis, right? Across the world. It doesn't matter the relationship, whether it's personal or professional, the idea of the meaning making process, right? And
I think it's also, a point where, everybody's so easily offended today.
Yes.
I keep trying to encourage people to say, wait a second, before you just immediately reach flashpoint 5,000, why don't you think about how that person means that? Gestures. People think certain things mean something. I mean, I'll tell you, my nephew, who's half Black, he went to a Burger King or something with me, and I was paying. And I grew up with the thought process that money is dirty and your hands are dirty, so don't touch other people. That's rude, right? So I laid the change down on the table for the woman to pick up. And she looked at me really funny. And my nephew took me aside later. He's 24, so he's all into this world. I need him around. Yeah. And he says, Aunt Lisa, he said, that woman thought that you were rude because you didn't want to touch her. And she happened to be Black. And I said, well, that's ridiculous. I was trying to protect her from my germs. Yeah. And he says, no, but that today, that's not good. You have to put the change in her hands. I said, okay, right. But I think, and I had a conversation with him over lunch the other day, and he said, the thing is, the problem comes in when people understand that there's been a change in meaning and people don't change themselves. They hold on to their old way of thinking and they refuse to understand that there's been a change. And he said, that's what I have a problem with. And I was like, okay, I'm learning. So.
Well, and it's not easy, right? By the way, because you're talking adaptability, right? To continuously adapt to the times, changing and meaning, all those sorts of things. Because like you, I used to carry the same sentiment. I was raised that money's dirty, right? So don't go hand to hand. And you just taught me something. Your nephew just taught me something because I didn't realize that, right? So that's a really great thing to know. But it's a very hard thing. And I know it's one thing we here at CEO Effectiveness, we push a lot about how important adaptability is and being able to adapt to the changing times. I mean, I think what we're all going through right now is going to have some very real consequences, good and bad, right? But at the end of the day, you have to be able to change. You have to be able to embrace others' perspectives. That is such an important thing. So switching gears and taking a look back in the business community, right? In your opinion, Lisa, what are some ways business owners can encourage input and creativity from their team members How do we get around that concept, right, of the frozen middle?
Yeah, the frozen middle being the people that sort of stop the ideas before they filter up to the top where the strategy really lives. And I think the important part of that is to be open to reach out and be proactive about making sure you contact people in your organization, every single individual in your organization. I don't care if you have 1,000 people in it. They're all human beings. They have families, they have children, they have, husbands, wives, significant others, whatever they have. And, they are contributing a valuable part of themselves to your organization, and they have thoughts, they have ideas, and it's important. Those are gifts. Those are absolutely,
Absolutely.
holiday presents for you to open. And if you don't open them, and people in the middle are stuck on procedure. I mean, as a lawyer, one thing that really bothers me in an organization, and in any kind of operation, is the legalistic interpretation of everything. I mean, the just minute, regulatory, detail pinching kind of thing, because you have to keep that big picture in mind. And if you can't get those ideas up, your company cannot thrive, because these are the people that can come up with the post-it note. It's like, this would be a lot more convenient if we could just stick this piece of paper over here and it would stay, right? I mean, because we don't have tape, they won't allow us to have tape. If we just have the glue on the paper, I mean, so but you're missing that if you enable a bunch of middle managers who are saying no a lot. I think the interesting thing is to say yes to ideas and then analyze them. You can say no to ideas, but at least hear them out.
Wow. And it's interesting. It goes back to your earlier point about facilitation as compared to control, right? And so being able to say yes to ideas doesn't mean you're approving or on board with the ideas, but you're saying yes to the dialogue about those ideas, which that's fantastic. That's really, really good. So that brings us to our next point. So, right now, many professionals, they're in a constant search, right, for the best ways to bring their team, their vision, their mission, and target market all together. What are 3 things from your experience and your tenure that you would recommend to any business owner or leader to encourage continued collaboration and synergy with their team and with their market?
Well, it's kind of like in real estate, location, location, location. I would say, transparency, 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 because I think it's really transparency, enabling the conversation, and then having the will to adapt, which is the hardest part. Like, you can have all these ideas and everybody feels good and slaps each other on the back and walks down the hall and goes back to their offices and goes back to their regular work. But it's like, well, what are we changing today? What is the most productive thing that we could do if we could do anything to change where we are today, and cost were no object? What would we do?
Right.
There is a version of that. I like to rehab houses. It's just fun for me, but I don't have $1 billion, right? So I can't just spend, just anything I want on these things. So I have to adapt. I might see a look, but I might have to adapt it to get that look in a little bit different way.
Absolutely.
It can be done. And so it's just a matter of creativity and allowing those ideas to come in, but also being transparent about what you want to accomplish, where you want to go, and making people stakeholders in it, and saying, this is your company too. I want to hear your ideas, and then visibly make the changes that others suggest, not you, but others.
Absolutely. It's interesting. Our founder, Dr. Bill Anton, which I know you're very good friends with, he thinks the world of you. But, when we think about, he always says this, conversation should be at the level of dialogue, right? And so being able to invite and encourage folks to come to the table, not feel any sort of pressure, or not feel afraid to voice their thoughts and their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
There's a liberation quality to that. And the idea of them saying, I can actually be myself with this organization. And by the way, this organization I spend 50, 60, 70 hours a week of my life at, which that's the majority of their time it's spent with these folks in this environment. So that's such an incredible thing, I think, especially when feeding, morale, being able to feed folks having continuous buy-in into the company and truly giving their best, which is what every administrator, manager, business owner obviously wants from their team. So in your opinion, Lisa, so what's the most effective way to lead others?
I think by listening and being loyal to them. Loyalty is extremely important. It is a rare quality today. Most companies look at people as worker bees and expendable. Sadly so. And I tell you, the employees I speak with in my company or other places really value a sense of loyalty. And I think if you have a sense of team, we're doing this together. We may all make mistakes. I may make mistakes. You guys can point that out. That's okay. I need to learn. I'm constantly on a learning mission, right? But allowing people to collaborate and voice their opinions and ideas without fear, and being loyal to them and saying, you know what, I got your back. If somebody comes after you, I got your back. You may have made a mistake, and I may have to admit that, but at the same time, I'm going to give you a chance and say, you know what, we all make mistakes. It's okay. So, this sense of perfection that we've grown up with, some of us, that, everybody expects perfection. It's a very difficult standard. And I know a lot of people who are in the CEO level are perfectionists, and they got there by demanding the best, which is fine. It's fine to have high standards, but I think also understanding and being human when someone doesn't come up with that standard. Not everybody's you. Not everybody can be that 24/7 buzzsaw.
So true. That is very profoundly. So I think of the hundreds and thousands of clients that we've worked with, and how many times we have heard folks and employees in particular that say they feel lonely, right? That they feel like they don't have a voice in their organization. And I think it does go back, there's such a stark contrast. You have some business owners who they look at their employees as their prized possession. They would not be able to do what they do without their team, and they want them to flourish. Then you have others who believe the employees are here to do one thing, to make me money, period, right? And so not healthy, not conducive. Is there some validity to that? Yeah, but there's so much more. There's so much more that you want from your team members. So I think that's a really profound thing that you said. So Lisa, this is interesting. With all these changes that are going on, we've touched a lot of different bases thus far. But in your opinion, what does the future of business look like in the USA? What do you think, especially with your experience in cybersecurity, your role at InfraGard, what are some of the biggest threats that we face?
Well, I'll tell you, the one threat that keeps me up at night is now that we've all been forced online and we do everything online, that we're going to have an attack to the power grid. Mm-hmm. And the power grid is vulnerable. It's not a secret. It's vulnerable because it is a compilation of power grids that stretch across the country, some of which are rural power grids that don't have a lot of protections. Yeah. And would be easy sources. So I fear that now that we're digital and we're even going to digital currencies and everything. So I'm as a cyber person and a technology enthusiast. I mean, I'm a nerd. I'm a techie. I'm this weirdo, right? But I fear that somebody's going to pull the plug, and then it's going to be like, well, now what? So I'm kind of old school too. I like paper statements from my bank. I print them out. I do things to save things, obviously in locked cabinets and stuff. I mean, because I have to. Absolutely. But like, if it's my stuff, I'm sure as heck gonna keep a paper copy Now, with respect to patient records and things like that, that's a nightmare. I mean, I can't tell you that there's an easy solution. I don't think that everything's going to be online or digital, because I don't think it's practical to protect it. The hackers are 3 times as well funded as the defenders. So it's a frightening thing out there, and I praise the people that are defending us right now. And we're going to be dependent on some really advanced technology like quantum physics to authenticate ourselves and stuff in the future, so that there is no hacking. There are some things out there that are just remarkable, but I mean, we're vulnerable until that comes to the marketplace.
And I think so many folks who are not in tune with the cybersecurity world, they don't know what they don't know, right? And so the idea of being able to shed a little bit of light on what those vulnerabilities are, or what the security threats are. Do you think, Lisa, that the future of business in the USA, especially over the next 24 months, will we continue to see an uptick on online dependence? Maybe more people working remotely and doing.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm realistic about this whole thing. I know that app developers launch apps before they've even run a security test. I know that, I mean, things just happen because we all love our technology. We love to push a button and have it happen for us, right? I mean, I do too. I think it's great. Yeah. I love, Ring doorbells and stuff. And all this stuff is insecure, 100% of it. But I think that because of this COVID scare, I think that a lot of people are opting to do a lot of things online. And I'm not going to say that that's not a valid fear. But I also, my personal thought is that, we are going to have to learn to live with it, because it is not going away, and we cannot kill our economy over it. We just can't kill our country. So we're going to have to find a way to live with it, and hiding in our houses will not be a long-term solution. So I do think that, I mean, we're going to do more things digitally because it's low touch, with the worry in the back of my head about the power grid. And being able, I think one of the things in people's contingency and emergency response plans should be, how am I going to function if I don't have the internet?
Absolutely.
That's
a really good point. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Miss Lisa Shasteen, thank you so much. This has been incredibly insightful, great conversation, great discussion points. And I know to the viewers who are tuning in, if you all have any questions for Miss Lisa Shasteen, by all means, reach out to us here at CEO Effectiveness. We would be happy to get you in touch with her. If you need any of her legal expertise, Lisa, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you that may need the services that you can provide?
Well, probably the easiest email. Please don't include anything important in it. Because it's online. It's info@shasteenpercy.com. That's SHASTEENPERCY.com.
Outstanding. And we have included that email in our description below of our time with Miss Lisa today. So Lisa, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we look forward to touching base with you again soon.
Thanks, Gina.
All right, take care.